What prompted you to even start a school like this? It's not a normal business, man.
It's not. I like to say that I didn't create School of Rock, it kind of created me. I was just putting myself through college, teaching some guitar lessons on my way to law school, which, you know, this saved me from that. So if it did nothing else, it's a wonderful thing. And just loved teaching. I loved it in a way I never loved playing on stage. It really came naturally to me. And a whole community sort of sprung up around my initial students in my living room.
And this was where?
Philadelphia, 10 years ago. And we started jamming on Saturdays, and I really saw the difference actual hands-on experience playing music made. So the kids started getting so good that a friend of mine was having an art opening and asked if we'd play, and we did. And getting ready for that show was the single greatest educational experience I'd ever encountered. So the kids actually practice, knowing, and then I realized that every other music school is like being on a sports team that practices and never plays games. How good, what are you going to know about yourself if you don't get on stage? So we booked a show. It was like a local sensation. We got a lot of great press, and filled with the hubris that follows some success, I maxed up my credit cards, hired all my friends, and opened up a school.
Great.
And we've been very blessed since then.
And how long have you been doing one in Hollywood?
The Hollywood one's been open 2.5 years now. And once again, we're blessed to have an amazing staff. Moved Carl Restivo out here. It ended up being great for him because he ended up.
Him on the website.
Yeah, he's the bass player in Perry Farrell's band now. So he kind of brought Perry in, and that's no mean feat because that's the music I grew up to. Like Perry's, not to be corny, was the voice of my generation.
Really?
I fell in love to those albums and fell in love with them, and so
not
now.
to get too eclectic, but what would you consider the philosophy of the school? What's your overview, point of view on the modus operandi of you doing this?
There's a few things. One is that the American culture completely sells our kids down the river. Bumper, like closing the gutters and pool and not keeping score in baseball games. And, it's just, I really believe kids want to be challenged. And if we all think back, our best teachers were those pricks who really listened to what we said and kicked our asses. So it's about, how many of these kids are going to go on to be rock stars? We don't ever promise that. But what they are going to learn is the value of hard work and that they can actually accomplish absolutely extraordinary things. Right now next door we have 60 kids about to play a sold-out Roxy with John Anderson and Perry Farrell, and they can do that. And
John Anderson's done this a couple times now.
Yeah, this will actually be about his 25th show he's played with us.
25th?
Yeah, we did a 5-city tour with him, like we've done with a bunch of people, and we just fell in love, and it's like the perfect thing for us because the music's complex and really challenges the kids. And John just loves it. He says it reminds him of 1968 and the first time he played music, and it's, he calls it his little fountain of youth. And it's, sometimes I think that these things are as good for the guest stars as they are for our school and the kids. In fact, we had John Wetton from Asia and King Crimson. I'm a big prog rock fan, so he was like, a hero. And he came to us, and he was 6 months sober. Really just picking up the bass again. And boy, to see him finally get it with the kids, and then 6 months later to see him on tour with Asia, it's got to focus, A lot of pressure. I can only imagine showing up here.
Which is kind of like another thing I was going to ask you, though. What is your biggest challenge in doing something like this?
Biggest challenge is that's simple. It's keeping it cool. At the surface, we're just a bunch of kids playing cover songs, and the kids go to school and people tease them, and the fact that people like Perry Farrell, who's probably the coolest motherfucker walking the planet, think this is cool is a great justification for me. But at the same time, there's always this challenge, especially now that we have 40 branches, to make sure it's not just kids playing cover songs, that they're putting themselves into the music and that they're being challenged. As soon as the kids can play a song really well, my all-stars that I tour, we stop playing that song.
Really?
Because it's not about that. It's not about how good can these kids play. It's about how much can these kids learn. So, we'll dig up some songs that we knock out of the park, but I'm always changing the repertoire. In fact, the kids got, those 25 John Anderson shows, and they were getting 2 Note Perfect. So the next tour we're doing is with Gibby Haynes from the Butthole Surfers.
Oh, parents will love that.
Yeah, fuck the parents. But, so now Gibby comes in, and he's another person. As far as I'm concerned.
I think it's the Beverly Hills Surfers.
Yeah.
Because they never really don't they say BH surfers?
They do, yeah. But but the Buttle Surfers, that was alternative music in the mid '80s, and some of the best shows I ever saw were those guys. So now Gibby comes in, and in his first rehearsal with the kids, he's like, on this song, no chords. If I see anyone playing chords, you're off the song. He's like, just pick notes and go, So it's always mixing it up, and when they get comfortable, to challenge them. Right. Because so little of our society really challenges kids anymore.
Right. What's the biggest reward for you out of this?
The looks on the kids' faces after they succeed, and then seeing kids try specific things over and over and failing, and then finally getting it. I always tell the kids, I'm like a math teacher. I've seen the kids, putz around before a show, go up and put on a pretty good show, and I'm like, you guys all suck.
Really?
I've seen
you
them.
Say that to them?
I know. Yeah, all the time. The documentary we have, it's R-rated because I curse at them and let them know, and they love it. If my ex-students hated my guts, I'd change my thing. But my ex-students are probably my closest people in my life. There's people who've come through this and have seen that all I've ever asked for them is to get over their fear and laziness. And once any of us get over our fear and laziness, and God knows I have tons of both, you're just capable of such extraordinary things. So, what was the question?
Because you go and it's like, wow. Okay. Yeah. What's like a characteristic that you would pick as being really key to one of your students being successful in your program?
Honesty.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
As soon as you learn to fake that, they're fine.
Yeah. As soon as you learn to fake the honesty, you're fine. No, it's first, a kid comes to me and I just want them to have some initial success. So we teach them a few chords, they get up, they play a little Zeppelin, and then they're feeling good. But then you constantly want to, challenge them. And then the end point is really, it's not to get all Eastern philosophy, but I know if I'm playing guitar and I'm trying to impress someone, I impress nobody.
Right.
And if I'm playing guitar and I'm just trying to play sweet music, it's the most wonderful thing in the world. And if I can get the kids to that point, just play. Do all the work early so that you have all the chords and the chops and the rhythm and all that, and then forget all that, and then just play. And play music, because really, music's so sensational, beyond.
What do the kids tell you they get from the program? Like after they've gone through it and come back, you've said something about them calling.
After a year, like some of my best friends are, the 22-year-olds that have been with the program since the beginning. They look back and they can't believe the experiences they got to have and the way they were able to grow as people. And because when we tour with 25 kids instead of 5, which would be cheaper. Any kid who's come through my program for a few years has 50 to 60 close friends that they'll never lose. And that's an amazing thing. We actually, unfortunately, lost one of our students in Philadelphia recently. She tragically passed away. And at her funeral, there was over 100 of our students. And I said, boy, if we do nothing else than create a community of people who take care of each other, and
sounds like a band/family.
It is.
Kind of vibe.
If I create nothing, if we foster nothing more than 100 people who honestly care about each other and revel in each other's success. We're such a society that we root for each other's failure. But you'll actually see when you go in there tonight, the kids clapping for each other and honestly hoping to see something extraordinary.
What do they do after your school normally?
Sit on the couch somewhere and smoke pot, usually.
Do you have anything to do, I don't know, exactly how we ended up doing this, but do you have anything to do with MI? Would you like to have anything to do with MI? What's the connection there?
Musician Institute?
Musicians Institute.
Well, I have a really good relationship with Berkeley.
Okay.
And we're starting to formalize that. We'd certainly, I'm an East Coast guy, so right. MI is a little foreign to me. But we'd certainly love to do that.
We're right up the street. You want to come down and check it out?
I would love to. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, we really, here's what I say to the kids: whatever you want, if I can, once a kid's worked for me, there's nothing I won't do for them. Mm-hmm. So if I can create a relationship with MI where our kids can get a little, extra relationship there and then come in scholarships, yeah. And I would do that in a heartbeat.
Great.
Yeah.
Sounds good, man. Anything else you want to plug? You want to talk about? You want to say?
Yeah, we're going to be. John actually is going to. We've done a lot of East Coast stuff, and this is John's first appearance on the West Coast. We're actually doing at least 3 shows at House of Blues in February. So if anyone knows about that, we're doing Vegas, Anaheim, and LA.
Any dates offhand? I don't mean.
Yep, the 20th in Anaheim, the 21st in Hollywood,
of
and
what?
February.
February, okay.
And the 23rd in Vegas.
Okay.
It's going to be my absolute best kids from the East Coast, sprinkled with kids from out here, playing a 2-hour show of some of the most difficult and wonderful music ever made.
Excellent. So how often are you in the office here?
I love LA, so I'm out at least 5 times a year.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't make it to our Salt Lake City branch that much, but Hollywood, I'm here.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so
Very
much.
hell of an interview.